Hello there.
Hello.
Hi again.
Hey, Emmy. Great to see you again. Another
You
week has
too.
flown by.
Absolutely.
And here we are, hopefully with our tamed hyperachievers in place.
Thank you. Yes, yes, absolutely.
Both of us, right?
We're trying. We're trying our best. What can you do?
Absolutely. We are indeed. We are indeed. And so this week we are shifting the lens onto the restless and looking at the I am not enough through the lens of the restless. Now, I wonder which one of us that refers to.
Not me, not me. I had enough of the lens on me.
Indeed.
And now
Yeah,
it's
this
your turn.
week the lens rests firmly on me. So yeah, when I did my saboteur assessment, what was wonderful actually, when I did it for the first time, I didn't have any really kind of thoughts about which of the saboteurs would show up. I didn't know enough about them prior to doing it to even really have an idea. So it was kind of nice going in without any judgment of what might come out. And of course, then when I got the report, I just sat there going, "Oh dear, that's me. Yeah, that's me." So it was wonderful, and I do say wonderful. It was a wonderful experience to connect with myself, to see where I was getting in my own way, and also where I was flourishing, because there was a bit of both going on. So there were definitely some of the strengths that go with the rest that are underneath what the restless shows up as, that are very firmly part of who I am. But then I had to really look at, and I wanted to look at, where the restless saboteur had been really stripping the power away from those things that are grassroots in me. Um, and so, just to say, so how does the restless show up? I think is probably a good place to start. And certainly,
Absolutely.
for me, the most fundamental thing about the restless is that it's that jumping from one thing to another. Jumping, do a bit of this, oh yeah, do a little bit of that, and oh, that looks exciting, let me go and do a bit of this. And actually, I have been doing that for the majority of my life. Now, again, I want to say some of that absolutely hit home and was on point, yet I have to absolutely own that some of it absolutely drained me and pulled me away from the things that I really needed to put my focus and attention on. And that is really what the downfall of the restless, if I were to call it a downfall of the restless, is it will stop you from finishing the things that you most want to do or that you most need to put your attention on. And I can think of a number of projects that I've started before, and I've been like all guns blazing, full on point. Yeah, this is brilliant, this is great. And then when the hardest bit came, it's just like, oh, that looks interesting. Let me go and have a look at that instead. So off I'd go. Right? So typical restless behavior is it's almost like the inability to stay to see something through to the end, dealing with all the blocks and the hardships that kind of come with that. And I really needed to see that in myself. I kind of recognized that I did lots of things, but when I thought about all the different things that I did, a lot of it was because I got pleasure. I get pleasure from learning. So certainly from a learning perspective, I feel quite easily drawn to different things because I want to have the knowledge of the things that hold interest to me. However,
Absolutely.
you've got to have that line where you can see that, okay, I'm doing it for those reasons. Am I doing it for those reasons though? Or am I really stopping myself from seeing something else through to the final page, the final bit that needs to, for this thing to flourish? And so I think for me, it has been a real revelation to understand why there have been points along the way where I felt like I should be getting, more should be happening with this, more should be happening with this. And actually, well, the reason it's not, my dear Yvonne, is because you keep on jaunting off onto something else and you're not holding that space, you're not holding that attention, you're not holding that focus long enough for something to generate, or the things to generate that could generate. So Yeah, it's been a real learning for me. And I don't know, Evie, I know that it's not high on your list in terms of saboteurs, but whether you've seen it in other people.
Eh, I've seen it, and I've seen it also in myself, but not in like so much. I always pride myself for being like multitasker, and the Restless is like one of the myths that he's telling you, is that you can do so many things at the same time. And the truth is that as much as we like to think that multitasking is a good thing, because we've been fed this
Yes.
idea for many years now. And of course, when it comes to creativity and to productivity, we are like we've been taught that, multitask, because you
Yes.
can get more things done. But the truth is, you can't. You can probably have a lot of things going, but
Yeah.
in reality, because you're not focusing enough on any one thing, you don't necessarily go in depth with anything. And I
Indeed.
have seen that in myself. So it is something to consider. I mean, there is, from the productivity perspective, because I work with people with regards to their productivity, is like to get somebody to understand the oxymoron of like doing less is more.
Yeah.
It's very hard. So
Yes.
we need to focus on one thing when we really want to learn, when we really want to have the depth of the knowledge,
Yeah.
and that thing only. Otherwise, it's just going together with everything else. So yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
have seen Restless.
Yeah.
Myself, you can see it, even though it was like lower in the list of the saboteurs, definitely it is there. And like with all the saboteurs, we have said we might not see them turning up so high in our list when we did the test to start with. But as we go along with this work and we do the tests again and again, different things show up. So what I love about what you said, though, is how important it was for you to connect, to do the works, or the test, to connect with who you are and why you're doing certain things. And I think that's the beauty of taking the saboteur assessment.
Absolutely. It is eye-opening. And I think when you see it, as with all these things, let me just say, your judge will come running to your rescue first of all and tell you that, no, don't be ridiculous, none of that's not how you are, da, da, da. You'll have all that conversation to protect
But
you.
we all do.
Truth, right? However, the truth is the truth. And I think after that initial, oh no, that's it. And then it is that, wow, this is really, I can really see the bits that are truly relevant to me. Not every single thing that was said about the Restless resonated with me, but a lot of it did. And I think that understanding that when you're in the restless state, you're just constantly seeking distractions, and you have to say, why am I seeking distractions? Why do I want to be distracted when I'm doing this thing here? And it's generally because it's uncomfortable. It may be hard. It may be that bit that actually if somebody else did it and I didn't have to do it, it would be fine, in which case, go get yourself resourced. But there are all these things, and it's just a wonderful time to be really curious. And for me, it definitely was that sense of being able to see how I have sabotaged, or my restless has sabotaged me at times when I was literally, if you like, almost turning a corner. And so you're on that corner of change, and instead of like sticking with it and just going around the corner, it's like, no, let's go back and let's look over on the other corner because that looks far more interesting. And that has definitely been played out for me time and time again. That said, since doing the assessment, since getting that clarity, what has been absolutely brilliant for me is being able to change my approach to things. I think at the time, Evie, when we did them relatively around the same sort of time, I was feeling quite buoyant by the revelation, because I think once you know something, you can really do something about it.
Absolutely.
And I knew that I wanted to do some really important things, for the rest of this year, certainly going into next year. And so I thought, what do I need to do? How am I going to dial the restlessness down so that the strengths, the underlying strengths, can come to the surface fully? And what I have absolutely taken away is, right, I have become relentless. I thought I was before, actually, but I have become relentless at removing distractions. So from emails that come into my email box, to things that I choose to read, to conversations I choose to engage in, to projects I choose to get involved in, I have literally just like, okay, enough is enough. Let's just get this down to the absolute, 2-3 things that you can give your complete attention to and have a real impact, instead of doing 10 things and not really doing brilliantly in any of those 10 things, because you're just spreading yourself so thin. That has been such a game changer for me. And I feel that not only mentally, like in my clarity of thinking, but in my body. I feel like there's space. There's space now that wasn't there, that didn't exist before. It was cluttered. And so I have removed the clutter. And what that has done is kind of re-energized me. So let me just talk about the strengths a little bit, because that will come true. And I kind of wanted to kind of go through these, because this is quite important. So the strengths that are usually underneath what comes up as restless: high energy and vitality, 100% me, right?
You've always been like that, though. I mean, that is one thing that really, in the 10 plus years that I know you, that these two things are definitely something that your essence. It comes out 100%. So that's a great thing from the
Thank you.
restless.
Yes. And thank you for that, Evie. And also it's about open curiosity, being spontaneous. So these are all wonderful things: contagious enthusiasm, appreciation of life, capable of great productivity and creativity when you focus on one thing at a time, not 20.
Absolutely.
Just saying. Energizing and engaging others in co-creation, capable of great breadth of activity and pursuits. And so for me, it was like, I can still do 10 things. I just don't do them all at once. I am just like, this day, this week, this month, I'm doing this. The other things that still hold my interest and I still want to be able to get into, I can do. But I'm not doing it all in one day. Why would I? And that has given me so much more sense of being present, so much more ease and flow, because my mind isn't flitting a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And it's completely like re-energized me. And that may sound scary, because I am relatively energetic in the first place, but it's re-energized me in a really positive way. And I feel that I have so much more to give because of it. And so if anyone's kind of listening to this and kind of resonating with the restless, the constant seeking, seeking something new, and oh my gosh, and oh look at that, and shiny object, and all that kind of crazy stuff that goes on, this is a wonderful opportunity to kind of really revisit that and understand what's driving it. Because again, when I looked at that, what was driving mine, I mean, it is fear-based, right? It's fear that if I'm not doing 220 different things, I'm not going to get to where I want to get to. It's a fear-driven state. So even for me, being able to see that and to acknowledge it and just realize, you'll get to where you want to go. It's not going to, and doing 200 things at once is not the thing that's going to get you there. That's not the thing. So whilst I want to say I've been re-energized, I also have a greater sense of calm also. So it means that now I can show up and work from that place of ease and flow.
Mm.
Um, and I think even that's impacted me. Flow, knowing how to, I can access my flow state with greater ease now because I'm sticking to one thing.
I mean, what is a better thing to be able to do? I mean, all of us, that's what we we would love to do, to be able to get to that state of ease and to reach the flow state, because that is what we, it is like what keeps us going in the best possible way. That's what helps us create in, like the best possible way. And I mean, I hear you, and I can feel the greatness of positive intelligence, what it has done for you, because to me, this is the beauty of the work, is like being able to, yes, acknowledge that we all have the voices in our heads, but also being able to acknowledge that we all can have them there serving us, rather than, just have them there, overwhelming us and keeping us stuck in certain areas. So it is, I think, a great example of what you're sharing for people that will resonate with the restless and any other saboteur for that matter. Because
Yes.
I mean, what we want to make sure is that nobody goes into doing the assessment and start beating themselves up, because we learn from our saboteurs. They are a good thing when we
Yeah.
acknowledge them, and they can really serve us well when
Yeah.
we acknowledge them, when we know what they are, why they are there, and how can they be used in that state of ease, and then take us to that state of flow, which is fabulous.
Yeah.
Because that's where we can create what we want to create and have the impact we want to have. Yeah.
Yes, that's, there's a freedom and a creativity to it. And I think what's important though, as we're talking about the I am not enough, you know, in the state of restlessness, it's usually um, you want to, it could be covering up shortcomings, not feeling like you have quite all the things that you need to have. Um, and so you distract yourself with lots of other things, because you don't feel resourced or knowledgeable enough, or all of those things. And and again, for me, it's just like, yeah, I can see that with complete clarity now, as I look and think about the behavior that was driving certain things. Yeah, so for me, coming to that place of being able to acknowledge that I have experienced the I am not enough, which I have through other, I think, saboteurs anyway, but seeing it through the restless, is that you're diving and you're ducking because you don't want to do everything to the end in case it doesn't work, and then you don't feel like you're enough, so there is all this kind of push and pull and unpacking that happens. um, and I would just say, really just be open to it. Don't fall into the pit of doom, or judging your judgment and all the rest of that stuff. It's just like, look at the results that you get, and just sit with them. And then, one of the things that I did when I printed off my report when I first did it is I got a highlighter, and I went through my top sort of 3 saboteurs and just highlighted the things that completely resonated. And it wasn't everything on there, thank goodness. I mean, good grief. But it was, but there was enough, right? That I could highlight, and I could say, yeah, I can see, and I can see not just when one saboteur has shown up, but when 2 saboteurs have decided to hold hands and have a little dance in my head, and completely to pull me away from what's truly important. And so I want to say, like, do the assessment with fascination. Just be fascinated at what you can learn when you come through the other side, whatever the report says, and then be honest enough with yourself to be able to really identify those things that resonate with you. because ultimately what we want to do is identify them so that we can make the shifts. So for me, going from that state of distraction, going into meaningful engagement and being able to maintain focus and stay the course is a game changer. It's an absolute game
Absolutely.
changer.
I completely agree. And the thing is that we really need to face anything that we are, because I mean, we are going to spend the rest of our lives with ourselves, and we have spent all our lives with ourselves. So
Yeah.
it's great to be able to understand why we do certain things. And I think that's what learning about the saboteur does for us, because it sort of takes away that excuse of like, oh, I don't know, but that's how I've always done it. And that's I'm continuing doing it like this because okay, why not? And I
Absolutely.
would say, yeah, if honestly, you can say that it has served you how you have done it always, keep doing it. That's absolutely fine. But if you have a slight thought that it might not have served you, or there could be a better way of doing something, explore it. I mean, it doesn't need to be like that, like all your life is changing kind of scenario, and like again, the fear kicks in, and you're like, oh, no, never mind, I'm not going to do that. And also, what you said, Yvonne, about not finishing things, because why? Because there are two things that can happen. One is that you're going to find out that it's not working, and well, time to celebrate because you found one more way of it's not working, so you are closer to the way that it
Yeah.
works. And the other is that it might work, and then what will you do with yourself? Because you
Yes.
have now found that, oh, it's working. You're having a better life, you have more impact, and maybe whatever has to change, and that
Indeed.
is scary too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But and there's that thing that is scary too. So for me, it's understanding whatever you're doing. If it's being driven by fear, then your saboteurs are in the game. They are in
100%.
the game. They have come from behind the curtain. Remember the curtain that I said? Being on stage, your stage is at front, the saboteurs behind the curtain. Trust me, if fear is coming up, the saboteurs have come out to play. And that's what needs to be addressed so that your stage can stay center stage and get you to operate from that place that is ease and flow, that is love, that is a pull, not a push, because the results will be different. And I think, I don't know if we said this before we came on, Evie, or at the beginning, was that you can be driven by fear and still find success. Success
Absolutely.
can come from fear-based activity, which is why some people continue. However, generally speaking, if you ask those people how they feel, there's probably a lack of happiness, a lack of joy, a lack of satisfaction, because it's all fear. It's fear driven, and that is not, again, that's a really painful state to be getting your wins from, because there's no enjoyment tied to it. And if there's no enjoyment tied to it, it's like, why are you even doing it? And then you end up getting into, I think, like competitive states. And so all of that constant driving is from fear. And
And
actually, if we switch,
yeah.
yes, go on, Evie.
Sure, sorry. I mean, the way that you were saying, it's just something popped in my mind. The moment you are like succeeding from fear, it might even be viable, but you are always in that fearful state of losing what you have because it has been pushed to get it. You
Yes,
you are not confident about what you have gotten, and
absolutely.
that's what takes away even from like the final, the something that would have, I mean, would need to bring you joy. And that's why we see so many like really successful people that they are absolutely unhappy. And
Yeah.
you're thinking, my God, they have fame, they have money, they have
Yeah.
whatever, like anything that anyone could
Yes.
really consider success. And they don't
Yes.
know. They really cannot see that success because of what exactly you are explaining here. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's a very important
It's
point what you
very
brought.
important. It's powerful, and I think sometimes for me, while success is very much whatever you decide success is, that actually I
Absolutely.
do believe success is an inside job, because if you
Mm.
get successful with knowing who you are and what truly matters, and that you get to a place where you have, like, I know my saboteurs, I know when they show up, I know how to identify them, it's all good, and I know how to get them back behind the curtain, it's all good, right? Then you can truly operate, and find success or be in success from a joyful place, and that fear diminishes. I'm not going to say that it disappears, because there's always reasons will always surface, perhaps for a sense of fear. um, our ability to acknowledge when we have switched into another state, though, and come back from it, I think is important. I think, what's that example that Shazad always says about, your hand on the stove? You can put your
Absolutely.
hand on the stove. You want to know what it feels like to feel pain. So you want to know what it feels like to be uncomfortable. You want to know what it feels like to be fearful. You want to understand that. And then you want to get yourself right off of it, right? Because, okay, I know what that's like and I don't want to be there. And being able to find better ways and resource yourself in more effective and supportive ways to get the things done that you need to get done. Because if you want to keep your hand on the stove, you're going to get burnt.
True.
Literally.
That's exactly
And
what.
metaphorically.
Yeah. Like that one second of pain is enough. That's what should
Yes.
keep you in that sage mode, turn you in that sage mode, and say, okay, now I know what can I do about it. But if that hand stays on the stove for more than that first 1 second, then saboteurs are having a field day,
Yeah.
basically.
They're at play.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we
Yeah.
all have been burned and we know what it feels like. So uh,
Absolutely.
it's great when you have like both ways, and
Yes.
what it can be like to be without that burning sensation in your hand. In a way,
Yeah. And
definitely.
and and I want to kind of add, because Restless was, not, I'm going to say, it was relatively high, and it was that, it was high on my saboteur list. And since redoing the assessment, it has dropped immensely. It's still one of my top threes, but the score of it is just like so low. And that has literally been because I found out, and I realized what I could do to make the changes. And then I implemented the changes. Because here's the other thing, is you can do the assessment and think, oh wow, that was really enlightening, that's really great. If you then don't do the work that is necessary to change those habits, they'll keep creeping back. Even if you're like on fire with it for like a week or two, they'll creep back. So there is work that needs to be done to ensure you keep the saboteurs, at bay, dial them down, you have control, and that they're not running the show. And that for me that's the beautiful work that positive intelligence provides you with, that opportunity to do the mental fitness that allows you to keep those saboteurs in check. We don't want to get rid of them all. They all have some degree of purpose, potentially. We will understand that they have the underlying strengths, which we absolutely do not want to lose. We just don't want them to be carrying us, or pushing us into places and situations and behaviors and habits that are not serving us well, that are not getting us to where we truly want to go, and that are not allowing us to live the life that we truly want to live.
100%. And the truth is that, the saboteurs, all of them, they are us, right? They are who we are. Um, and the choice is ours as well. So it's not about, going to the controller mode. It's about having the understanding of what serves you when. And doing that, getting that out. It's like having a huge toolbox and knowing which tool to take out every time when you need it.
Yeah.
So I mean, to me, like it was definitely an eye opener, the whole thing, and especially how how much it taught me about me, about how
Yes.
I show up, and what I think of me. And all these perceptions and all of this, I mean, it's not just the saboteurs. We have so much conditioning done from when we were young, depending on our circumstances, like all these cultural things, everything plays a role. And there are a lot of things going on in our minds, there is no doubt about it. But like being aware, I think that's the freedom. That's what
Yes.
allows us to actually show up the right way for us. Because okay, I don't want to start professing that, oh, there's one right way, whatever. There isn't. There is a right way for you. And
Indeed.
but it's up to us, up to each and every one of us to find it, to demonstrate it, to accept it, to, I don't know, play with it, whatever we like to do.
Yeah.
and, and show up the way that we want to show up, hopefully by peeling out those layers of conditioning and all those layers of like the saboteurs that are like showing up without us wanting them, getting in front of the curtain, like Yvonne
Yes.
says, without us like noticing. We were like too busy, I don't know, talking to our audience, and there they come. So
Yeah. Actually, that's very powerful what you've just said there, Evie. Too busy talking to our audience, because that, in essence, is that we are so externally focused that we miss the conversations that are going on inside of us.
absolutely.
And then we pick up at them, we pick up on them, when they're kind of driven us to the edge. So, yeah, it is about, yes, we want to be able to engage out here. However, the ability and the need to engage in here is like critical. If you want to get to your innate powers, if you want to really tap into your brilliance, if you really want to show up in the world with all of your greatness and your glory, start listening to what is happening in here. And then once you understand it, once you see it, and you begin to do things that help you to understand it, be ready, willing, and able to take action. Because without the action, it's simply knowledge. And knowledge is brilliant, but knowledge is not going to just move the dial to where you want it to be. You're going to have to be prepared to take some action too.
No, that's the thing, isn't it? Because I mean, in our work, we see a lot of people and ourselves. I mean, I don't know about you, but myself definitely. Like
Yes.
you just get caught up so much in learning because yeah, we do love to learn. We need to stay current. We need to like be part of the what's going on in the world today. But
Yes.
when you forget to do something with that knowledge, then it's just not not serving
It's just
anything.
knowledge.
It's just sitting there.
It's
Yeah,
just, what
exactly.
was that
It's just,
great quote? You shared a really great quote with me about that.
what was it? I can't remember now.
It was, it was It was a great quote. It was something about knowledge isn't knowledge until it's or common sense. That was about
Oh,
common
yeah,
sense, isn't
it's
it?
like
But I think it
common
applies
sense.
to, yes,
It
common
does
sense
apply to that as well.
sense
Yeah,
until it's common practice. And
correct.
exactly
Yeah,
the same with knowledge. Knowledge isn't knowledge until it's actually put to some use. You've got to use the knowledge
that's
in
it.
order for it to create the flourishing that it has provided you, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so I think, I'm going to be absolutely encouraging people to go do the assessment, really, and do it, as I said, as an explorer. Go with an explorer's mind. Be inquisitive. Be curious. Be kind. This is not an opportunity to you to find some information and then start beating yourself up. I'm sure most of us have done enough beating up of self for the vast majority of our lives. We are not looking to go to that place, but really kind of get a sense and just be thinking about, wow, now that I know that, what could I do differently? Or what has been driving me? What is a question you want to position to yourself? And just explore that. And if you want some kind of help supporting, kind of exploring that, then you can reach out to either Evie or myself, and we will be more than happy to help you do that. For those who have tuned in or are hearing this as a replay, if the Restless has resonated with you in any shape or form, first things first, please do not go into beat up mode. Please do not go into reprimanding yourself mode. Don't think it's a failing, it's a bad thing. It's a saboteur. It's a behavior, it's a pattern that has become overplayed, that has just taken up more space within you than you want to give it. And so recognizing it is the opportunity to address it and to do something different.
Absolutely.
Evie, any parting words for you?
I echo that. I think that this is the important lesson from Aitol. Just go with curiosity and embrace whatever you learn, and like play with it. Bring a little bit of joy in the learning, and what how that has showed up. And I find it quite interesting when I turn to that mode and I start mocking the saboteurs in a way. Because you can't do that. The moment that you start now seeing them showing up, you're like, oh, come on, I know who you are. You're definitely not me. And there is so much power in that, like speaking to the third person for
Yeah.
yourself, because it really gives you that power back. So enjoy, and with what you're learning, and do the assessment. It will really open so many possibilities for you, and it will be great.
Yeah, fantastic. And just to say, you'll be joining, I think, somewhere like a million people who have already taken the assessment. So you'll be in good company. And again, even if you choose not to do anything with the information, it will have provided you with some things to think about. If nothing else, it will provide you with some things to think about. And that in itself may serve you incredibly well. So to my restless self, I see you. I've got you. And I am going to allow the underlying strengths of you to be my mainstay. And I'm going to allow the patterns that do not serve me to stay behind the curtain until or unless I choose to let them out.
Excellent, good stuff. And to your restless self, I want to thank him or her. I don't know how you identify them as whatever, for giving you this, like characteristics that really are so wonderful in the way that you show up for others. So
Oh, bless
it's
you.
a pleasure having one more Thursday with you, Yvonne. And I'll see you all
Always.
next week.
Next. Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone, for joining
Take
us.
care.
Leave any comments below the video. We are always